gentlemen, thank everybody for coming today. A lot of new faces, here, a lot of very young faces here, which is good. And it's a very good thing. I'm glad you made it. I hope you continue to try to come to our meetings. Of course, I will say this, just because it needs to be said, everybody under the age of 18, every time you walk in the door of one of our meetings or events, you need to have consent. Just covering myself, because Alabama's buttholes as far as their laws are concerned. So anyway, I want to touch on a few things that's been on my mind lately. It's really strange, the things that have been going on this past year in the trans community. The first thing I'd like to address is the lack of unity across the trans community right now. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been being part of the trans community as a group owner, as somebody who promoted another group. Some of the things that I see in our group that keeps us divided are the very things that are hurting us the most. For starters, the dividing lines. There's this invisible dividing line. I don't know why it exists. I've never understood it. Trans men and women don't interact. We don't interact with our black ethnic partners. Post-ops versus pre-ops. Transsexuals versus cross-dressers. This is the way it's always been. As far back as I can remember, when I first started embracing my own truth, this was the thing that I discovered, that these lines, these barriers, keep us apart, keep us separated. If you're new to this and you wonder why there's no real unity in our community, that's the reason. Because everybody is, oh, I'm this, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. Or, because I'm this, I don't understand that. One of the things that a lot of the older people in our community are having difficulties with now is understanding the new terminologies. Genderqueer, non-binary, non-conforming. We're looking at people with these labels. I'm not personally, but I know people who are going, what the hell? They're literally confused. They don't know, which is odd because they're coming from a background where nobody understood them either. I look at it as an opportunity to learn and embrace, because that's what we're supposed to do. These battle lines that we've drawn within our community have to go away. They have to. Why do you think the L, the G, and the B have accomplished what they've accomplished? Because they set aside their personal differences and they work together. Now, some of you know what Stonewall is, especially some of you younger folks. Now, there's a story I've heard from both sides. It's either true or it's not. I don't know how true it is, but the story is when the Stonewall riot happened, that was trans people, drag queen, gender fluid person that started the riot. One of the ladies who was actually there, she was a queen, drag queen. And she did an interview shortly after the riot. And she said then the T in LGBT would be thrown under the bus. And she was right. She was right. We were thrown under the bus. History forgot us. The L and G profited from those riots. Of course, they went through their own share of hardships, but they profited. It started the entire gay rights movement. Where was the T? Up until this last year, where was the T? We were thrown under the bus. Why? Again, because we couldn't get ourselves together and unify as a community. I have Bella taping today because not only are you going to hear this here, people are going to see this. I want people to see this because for me, 10 years in the making, I've been looking at this community and going, we've got to do better. We've got to do better. And I've always tried to surround myself with like-minded people who want to break down those barriers, want to improve the situation. When I started STA, there was a conversation And the conversation basically was to, what were your words, Mary? That I should dabble my toes? Was that not your words?
I don't remember what I say sometimes. I don't know.
But to start reaching back out to the community, because I took 2 years off. I mean, I got reached the point that I was so frustrated with this community that I took 2 years off. Didn't want anything to do with this community. That's how frustrated I was. And unfortunately for me, if I don't have focus in my life, I fall apart. This community is my focus. My family and this community. And I want everybody in this room to know, I say this every meeting, I say this to every person I know personally. You're my family. You are my family. We're all trans. We all got something in common. So, your family. I see people who doubt it, but she's coming around. When I say it, I mean it, and I take and I not only mean it, but I show it through my actions towards my family. STA is, a big deal. I jumped back into this in April. Jumped back into this game. This is how far we've come in just a few short months. The thing is, these few short months, it's been a few people, just a few. I can count them all on one hand that have gotten in and really put the effort into this. And I keep thinking, what if everyone did something? Every single member of this community got together and somehow contributed to making things better. It's just something for you to think about. You all have a copy. It's a rough copy of our mission statement. And if you read over it, you see that there is a plan for long-term sustainability. So all this sustainability, these plans hinge on whenever our 501c is engaged, which we're working with LGBT Waves of Hope here in Mobile. We're supposed to be going under their umbrella to get our nonprofit status. But some of the ideas that I've had, one of the first things I want to tackle is the homeless issue. And I personally have tackled the homeless issue. I have people coming into my home who have no place to go. I'm taking care of our younger generation. She was out of a place for 2 weeks until the dorms on USA opened up. I didn't hesitate, didn't bat an eyelash. I said, you come stay with me. Got a young man staying in my home right now. Kind of the same situation. He had no place to go. The difference is he literally has no place to go. Fortunately, he's working. Hopefully soon he can find a place to go. But I'm footing the bill, and I'm taking care of these issues because I feel like that's my responsibility as a leader in this community, is to look after everybody else. So anyway, getting back to our plans, my plans, I'll be straightforward about it. They're my plans. These are things I have thought about for many years. When we start getting funded, I want to take care of trying to arrange something more long-term for the homeless issue. My Vice President, Paulina, has informed me that her job, that we're having anywhere from 4 to 5 trans individuals coming through the system every week. That's just the trans. We're not even talking about the L and the G. These people have no place to go, and they are literally riding the wave from city to city looking for a place. They're living under bridges, they're sleeping wherever they can lay their heads. They can't find work. They can't, they're just pretty much basically screwed because society is not accepting us. That's one thing I want to work on. Making sure that our people have a place to go. Another thing I'm going to take care of, or try to, once we start getting funding, is I'm going to look for, seek out, and lease space. Office space, so that those of us in the community have a place to go. And my ideal is to also lease warehouse space. It'll be off the books, but it'll be a place where people can go. When they have nothing else, they'll have a place, at least have a roof over their head. Until we can, of course, do it, quote unquote, legally. There's a lot of things you have to engage in order to have a shelter system set up. Unfortunately, we're not funded yet, and even when we do, it's going to take a lot more than just what we're going to have initially. So I'm going to sneak in the back door on that one to make sure that we're filling a need. But here's the beauty. Once I get this office space rented, once I get this warehouse space rented, as we progress forward and move forward and we start taking care of these individual needs inside the community, we can convert that warehouse space into something productive. Everybody, I'm pretty sure, knows what tiny houses are. Tiny homes are homes built on trailers. Because they're built on trailers, they escape the need to be certified. Anyone can do the work. They can put these things together. And they're perfectly legal. Now, they're not really technically called domiciles, but they're still sheltered. We have this warehouse space that we can use, that we can start constructing these things in. We find 5 or 10 acres somewhere on the outskirts of the city. We can take these units, we can place them, people have a place to go. Word gets out what we're doing, other nonprofit organizations come to us and say, hey, we like what you're doing. How much would it cost us for you to build some of these for us? Now we have an income stream. At this point in this organization, if we can get there, we become fully self-sustaining. We're working on solving homeless, not only in our community, but in other communities as well. We're creating jobs for the trans community. We're giving skill sets to people who have, so many of us, myself included, I quit school, couldn't stand it, didn't like being there because I couldn't be authentic to myself. A lot of people go through that. A lot of people in the community go through that. Not thinking long term what's going to happen to them. Not everybody's like me. I'm lucky, extremely lucky. My life has been, I'm not going to say free of turmoil, but I've been lucky. I've not had to worry about jobs. I don't have to worry about a place to live. I don't have to worry about a support system. I don't have to worry about all those things. I've got those. So for me, I'm lucky. But not everybody's lucky. I was always pretty sure that I was going to fall on that last, I was going to be that person who was going to lose everything and wind up in a box on the side of the road. Was one of the many truths that I did understand even before I knew we can solve the problems in-house by working together. When I say contribute, that doesn't mean money. It doesn't mean necessarily time, although that would be good. Money and time would be great, but I don't know anybody that has either. Ideas. I have a lot of good ideas myself, but I don't know everything. Maybe you've got $1 million idea, and you're keeping it to yourself that could make the community tons of money. Or maybe Kira, who never says anything, has $1 million idea, or she can think of something that's going to benefit us.
But you were talking about lines earlier, and like on social media now, I feel like a lot of friends that are trans and stuff, and we're kind of more together. We're all like more supporting each other, and on Tumblr, everybody's kind of nice to each other. Because like the younger generation is like, we understand how like bad everything is, and we're trying to stay closer together.
Well, the thing is, you're right. The younger generation is pulling it together. Finally, thank goodness. People my generation and older than me, you've got some who are very open-minded. I'm not pointing at Molly at all. You've got some of us that are very open-minded because we understand. The older generation is not understanding the younger generation. And there's been such a separation between the younger and older generation that we're not able to exchange ideas and thoughts.
I've actually been teaching my mom all about the terminology, and I was talking to her, and she's not heterosexual because I actually told her terminology for things.
But anyway, that's long-term goals, long-term plans. Ain't gonna happen overnight. I know this. Everybody who takes part in Southern Transgender Alliance is gonna know this. But for those who don't have any kind of focus, don't have any goals set for the future, I just gave them to you. I just gave you something to shoot for. While you're working on this, you're also working on yourselves. You've got support now. You've got support now. We're here. All right, we're not going anywhere. I've got people waiting to see me personally fail, and I'm not going to fail. Because this means too much to me. Now, the next thing I want to address, and this is a really hot topic issue right now, is the surge of violence that's happening in our community. This past year, as of August 14th, we surpassed the national record of transgender deaths in this country. We are 21 this year. Most of you have heard about 17 of those. Of those 17 you've heard about, you know that a large percentage of those 17 are trans women of color. First of all, I'm tired of the dividing line. I don't see color. I do not see color. What I see is trans people being killed because they're trans. That's what I see. But I'm going to bring this home for everybody. Who knew, who in this room before June 2nd of this year can say they knew the name Mercedes Williamson? One person in this room can say they knew that name. Right there. That's it. Mercedes left her house Saturday, May 30th. And her body was discovered June 2nd. Killed by someone she knew. She was born and raised in Mississippi, but she was living in Theodore, Alabama, just down the road from where we're at right now. She was murdered less than 30 miles from my home. This is someone I had no clue existed. I know I can't, I can't know everyone, but I think we can do better than this. We can set up some kind of safety net for our community, because if you have someone to turn to, or you have someone to turn to, or you have someone to turn to in the community that you can say, be there for me, maybe these things don't happen anymore. The thing with Mercedes is, anyone in this room, literally, our guests from Biloxi, wherever you're from, you could have very well run into this young lady on the streets and have never known it. You know what's even scarier? You could have ran into the man who killed her on the streets and never even known it. How many times in a day do you walk past somebody who would do you harm for being different? You have no idea, because these things don't hit home until you're a victim. So don't be a victim. Don't allow this to happen. The thing that kills me the most is when we held our last meeting here on June 18th in this room, I didn't know Bella. Had things been different, had Mercedes made a different choice, she could very well be sitting in this room with us today. But she's not going to be, because somebody took her life. Because, of course, they're saying they don't know why. No motive has really been established into her death. But every one of us in this room know why she's dead. Because she was trans. That's why. Just think about that. Next time you want to go down the street, just think about that. Yeah, that's a little emotional for me. What I want to say on top of that, when I was growing up, when all these terminologies didn't exist, there was no transgender, there was no genderqueer, there was nothing that most of us knew that could say, this is who I am. We didn't know. First term I ever heard in my life was cross-dressing. Most of us who are older, that's pretty much the first term we ever heard. We saw the crap on TV that was happening to people like us. We knew the truths. The truths from my generation haven't really changed that much. They have changed some, but they haven't changed much. The truths were that being different was unaccepted. Being different meant you were going to be alone. Being different meant that you weren't going to have a job. And being different meant that you were going to be in danger. These were truths that we knew. We knew somebody wanted to hurt us. We lived with these facts. That's why so many of us in the older generations, why it took us so long to step out. That's why it took us so long to become the people we wanted to be. Because we were scared. We were right to be scared. I don't want anybody to not be who they are, but I want every single person to think about what could potentially go wrong in their lives. Because as long as you have a little bit of fear, it's going to make you careful. The second you forget who you are, bad things might happen. So, let me get off that morbid stuff. In closing, I guess what I want to say now is that we do have a lot of potential.